All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for some Busch Series NASCAR 07 racing. Tonight we are at the Lowe Motor Speedway, of course now known as the Charlotte Motor Speedway, for the Cars Quest Auto Parts 300 as we get set for this next Busch race. We haven't raced the Busch Series in a minute on the channel. We just wrapped up our Truck Series season yesterday, winning the title with Ted Musgrave, clinching the championship 3 races early at Atlanta. Hopefully tonight we can try to take our first points lead in this Busch Series season. Tony Stewart's had the lead for quite some time now. I think he's had the points lead since like the 3rd or 4th race of the season. We have not led in points yet. This is as close as we have been so far, as we are only 16 points out of first. So we'll see if we can get it done. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We've got well, I wouldn't say a long race today, but a normal Busch Series race length today, so I don't want to waste too much more time here, as we have 300 miles, 200 laps around this mile-and-a-half racetrack. Can we get the win? We've had a lot of wins this season, but again, still haven't quite gotten it done yet. And green flag is in the air. We're going to be starting at the tail end of the field here. No practice, no qualifying. Challenge accepted. Tony Stewart on the pole, of course. That is not good for us because he is leading in points. So he's likely going to be out in front here out of the beginning of this race. Although as we get the speed down the back straightaway, Greg Biffle in the 16's looking like he's going to potentially try to lead lap 1. On the brakes heavily into the corner, just trying to keep from running into the back of some of these cars in front of us. A lot of 2x2 racing going on. Probably best we keep a little bit of separation while we don't know exactly what this car is going to handle like without any of the practice or qualifying. So Tony Stewart did not lead the first lap. I don't know if Biffle led it or if Kyle Busch out in front of the field right now led that first lap. I don't know if 3 wide is going to be a smart thing here. Nah, I'm just going to get out of it. 3 wide is narrow at Charlotte on this game. I don't want to clip the apron. The apron will spin me out immediately. Near contact to the outside, just enough room to get down to the bottom and pass a few more cars. Jeff Burton. Saw Marvin Sheth, obviously Jimmy Johnson in there. And up to 34th, that's pretty solid. 2.5 laps in, 9 positions gained. 2 cars breaking away at the front of the field, but Tony Stewart surprisingly did not lead a lap, which is huge for us. Maybe buys us a little bit more time to try to get through this traffic. My goodness. Oh my gosh. They're so slow back here. Still don't know exactly how fast of a car I'm going to have. Intermediate tracks, man. The Cup Series races, I can win on them from time to time, and I think it's just because the races are longer. The races being so short really hurt me on the truck and the Busch side. I have less attempts at trying to get the car to where I need it to with pit stops to try to get more speed out of it. And by that time, you know, race is over. Like the truck race at Atlanta last night, for instance, we only had 1 pit stop. Was trying to play catch up, and we fell just a little bit short. And still didn't have, you know, the fastest truck even at the end. There's a reason Bo Phillips won his 6th race of the season last night. He had the fastest truck. Wade, Billy Kramer, thanks for tuning in. Rusty at the Busch Series. Yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I feel like I'm driving all right. I'm taking my time getting through traffic. The only time I really gassed it up and really went for it was when there was a slow up off turn 4 on lap 2. And I passed like 7 cars on the front stretch. I was just trying to get as many as I could before the next corner. And I was able to fall in line single file by the time we got into the corner. There's a stack up on the outside again. 138 car up against the wall. Yeah, don't rush, exactly. I have a tendency to do that. It gets me in trouble, and I'm really trying to run a clean race. Kenseth's slow off turn 2. Oh. Little scrapage. Squeezing under Matt Kenseth. 3 wide. This is tight. Passes on Biffle and Kenseth made for 19th. Kenny Walls, Kevin Harvick up wide. Field's starting to space out a little more the closer we get to the front of the field. That was the fastest lap. We just ran that last time. Busch still leads. I wonder where Tony Stewart fell to. I mean, he could be in second this whole time, but... I just realized I passed Greg Biffle already, and he was out towards the front at the start of the race. Again, I don't know if he led the first lap or if Busch got around him. You'll have to let me know in the chat if anybody is willing to rewind it back to lap 1 to see who led the lap. Curious to know if Kyle Busch has led the entire time or not, despite not starting on the front row. Got held up a ton. I was out of the gas for a while. I wasn't sure what Boris said was going to do. I thought he said I had to put my pants inside for the winter. I was a little confused. It's like your pants. Kyle did lead it? Okay. Martin, who has been pretty fast. Oh boy. We're good. We're good, I think. That was treacherous. It's like contact with Jeremy Mayfield. Boris said, rather, the other 9 car. Mayfield's up here a little further. Getting by Martin Truex Jr. cleanly. Boyer already up to 10th. Crocker a little loose off turn 4. Paul Menard down to the outside of the 2. The 2 races his way all the way down into turn 1. Drives it in deep. Gets underneath the 98, but had to check up middle of the corner to keep it off the back of the 20 of Denny Hamlin. And Hamlin blocks down the back straightaway. Tried to get up to the high side. Didn't realize that Menard was still there. I also didn't even realize he passed Eric Crocker until just then. 3 wide off turn 4. A run for Boyer, but not a huge run. Underneath the 20 and the 9, going for it. A little contact. Those 2 cars to the outside. A clip of the apron. And loose out of the gas. Going to merge back up into traffic slightly. That was a dangerous, dangerous situation there. Caution, trouble, turn 4, car upside down. Just in front of us, one to the inside as he was sliding on his driver's side door before he ended up on his roof. Gnarly hit here at Charlotte in the early laps. And again, caution is out. And that will lead to our first pit stops of the race today as Boyer's on his way in, as is the rest of the field. 4 tire stop coming up, no adjustments on the 2. Busch did lead. Okay, so we've doubled down on that. That's good. That's good. Vegan store opening near you tomorrow. That's interesting. There's some good vegan meals out there. I wouldn't, switch. I could never eat meat again. I always told myself when I, bulk up to the weight I want to shed weight quickly, I would probably go on, a vegan diet for, a week or something to try to shed whatever fat off for, a week or 2. There is some good stuff out there. I've tried a few things. I don't know about all day, every day, but... Alright, green flag back in the air. I think we gained 2 positions in the pits. I think we were in 9th, came out 7th. So that's a plus. Kyle Busch stays in the race lead. You can tell tires are critical considering we were very early in this race when the caution flag waved, only lap 15. Stewart's still up there in that 33 car. Crocker making a pass on Dale Jr. Truex cycled out a little further ahead. Boyer side drafts Dale Jr. down the back straightaway. Just got to his inside. Squeezes underneath of Aaron Crocker as well. And up to 5th. And now Kurt Busch with a block to the bottom. Boyer trying to get underneath him. I don't know what the fuel window is going to look like today. I would imagine pitting when we did, we're probably only going to pit 2 more times the rest of the race. Definitely have to manage it as best as we can. Boyer side drafts 39. Kurt Busch pass made for 4th. We still don't know what the car's going to handle like on the long run. So that's a little concerning. Having that early yellow and already getting a pit stop in. I didn't make any adjustments because it felt good, at least for the short run. Tony looks loose. I mean, obviously he got loose and that's how he crashed on his own. But I'm honestly surprised he's still up in the running order where he's at. Boyer just cannot get by this 8 car. Low dive off turn 4. Really went for it. Took the apron corner exit. I was committed that it wasn't going to get loose there like it would on corner entry or in the center of the corner. It actually worked out. Allowed for the pass to be made for 3rd. Again, Tony Stewart still hasn't led despite qualifying on the pole. He's been in 2nd the whole race. And now here comes Boyer to the inside for 2nd place. Oh boy, I overdrove it. I had to get on the brakes there. I thought we were going to wreck. It might not have looked like much, but I could feel that that car was going to go straight up the track into Tony. I had the positioning on him. Lost it. We'll see if we can get it back. Quick little battle for 2nd. Look at how much Kyle Busch already gapped. The 33 and the 2 here. Stewart gets loose again. Boyer drives underneath. And clear for 2nd. All right. That was a success. John Fleming, thanks for tuning in. Didn't Stewart flip? Yeah, he did. I don't know how he's still running in 3rd, nonetheless running at all. But he's out here. We might have to save fuel in this one. That caution right where it was and everybody pitting, I don't know exactly what the distance is here, but I would imagine it'd be around 60, and we restarted at lap 18, which means we would have to go 183 laps on 2 stops. So definitely going to be on the patient side of things here. We've gotten ourselves up to 2nd. While it would be nice to lead, I think it'd be even nicer just to settle in. I did a good job getting to where we're at. We can lead laps later in the race. I've had a tendency to overdrive turn 3 at times. Turn 1, not so much, but turn 3, that You see me go up the hill quite a bit on corner entries because I'm driving in way too deep. That's what I did when I was underneath Stewart the first time when I tried to make the pass. Luckily, we didn't crash. I mean, it really is a two-horse race for the championship. I know we're only in the 13th race out of 35, but you look at the point standings. It's going to take a few DNFs for anybody else to get into contention, which there's a long enough part of the season that could happen, but I like to think it won't. Crew chief wants me to lead, but I'm going to be my own crew chief. I mean, you kind of are anyway. The crew chief's kind of just there for moral support, really, in the video games. You're your own spotter, you're your own crew chief. You can listen to them, but they're not right all the time. Never going to be on the same page, you know. The only team we have here is I. Which is not a team mentality, but like I said, it's a video game. Real life, obviously, I'm not doing that, but real life, that'd be a way to get you fired, especially when you're at this level. Like, good luck making it to Cup, bud. That attitude. And to that, I'd say you're probably right. Dunkin' Donuts is open where you live. Dunkin's. There are Dunkin's everywhere. Never had. I've never had. My sister prefers Dunkin'. I should say she's addicted to Dunkin'. On the rare occasions that I would get coffee from somewhere, it would usually be Starbucks or just iced coffee from McDonald's, just because there's one like down the street from where I work. I don't drink it enough to, you know, go other places, I guess, if that makes sense. I know what I like, stick to it. I'm not a huge coffee enthusiast. Yeah, decided to be the first person. That's something. Real life smoking, flipping, staying in the race. Second on the restart. Yeah, the fact he was in second when he flipped and then he came out of the pits in second. It's like, did you not repair damage while you were on pit road? I'm curious to see if he makes it the rest of the race, though, honestly. I've seen on this game where you get into a violent accident like that, or the AI will, and they'll run at first and then they won't make it to the end. And that will really open the door up for Clint Boyer to take this points lead for the first time. Because Tony Stewart running third, pretty much in no man's land. There's nobody right behind him. Obviously, he's losing pace to Kyle Busch and Clint Boyer, just kind of working together here. And say it's working out well for us. Push this pace between the two of us. Well, not really push the pace. What I'm really doing, like I said already, I'm trying to save. Save by not trying to just get in front of him and run away with it, essentially. I don't know if I have the speed to run away with it. Honestly, of the 1.5 tracks, this might be the fastest I think I've ever been on a 1.5 in the Busch and the Truck Series on this game. Or at least with the season we currently have. Like, Jimmy Johnson had A+ equipment. I think Clint Boyer is in B equipment in the Busch Series in this game. So that's part of the reason why we haven't been as quick on the intermediates. But I think this thing's got some pace tonight. Which is crazy, because I didn't practice or qualify. I mean, I've played this game enough, not only through my youth years, but on the channel here recently, too. Most of the 1.5s, the setup, I feel like I put in it is about the same. And sure, I can take a lot of downforce out of it to try to make it faster on the intermediate tracks, but I guarantee I'm not going to make it a full race. Like, that's the difference. Like, if I was playing, like, a 10% race or something like that, if I was on my own, sure, I would do that because the risk of, you know, wrecking's a lot less when you only have to go, like, 10 to 20 laps in a race to, you know, make it to the end on an edgy setup. Like, we have to go 200 laps tonight, 300 miles. There's no way with an edgy setup I'm going to make it. End of a fuel run when tires are shot on this is like 10 to 15 laps versus if you had a pit stop in a shorter race you were doing on your own, you really only have to suffer for like 4 or 5, if that. The suffering's a lot longer here. Spoke faster than he could type. Yeah, I don't really... He fell off of us. But again, he seems to still have pace, because you see that one little dot right now, middle of the back straightaway behind us, and that is Tony Stewart. There's nobody near him. He's actually kind of gapping those cars behind him on a consistent basis. I feel like every time I look up there, he's further and further away from them, but he's also further and further away from us. Got a slow car down on the apron blowing a motor. That's the 42 of Casey Mears. So Casey Mears has blown an engine here tonight. First one I've seen. Stay green. Stuart Flip was the only yellow. I'll tell you what, that's commitment. If you're actually going to go through with that and be the first person in line. Is it new? Is it a new one? I don't know. There might be some weirdos out there that are probably there before you. If it's new. I want to be the first one. Show up, there'd probably be a line of like 20 cars. Haven't hit halfway out of gas yet. Which, granted, we haven't even gone 30 laps into this run either. Oh, we got another slow car. J.J. Yaley. So Casey Mears and J.J. Yaley have both blown motors in the first 50 laps of tonight's race. Well, if you get coffee with the donut, I don't think you're going to be able to fall asleep right away. That might get you up and keep you up. Not a coffee drinker. Well, yeah, I guess if you just went for the donut that early in the morning, you'd probably fall asleep pretty easy. I've always been one of those people that, like, once I'm up, I'm up. I feel like over the last couple of years, I feel like it's been a little harder for me to get up in the mornings, but then once I'm up, I'm up. Is that just part of getting older? Just being more tired in the mornings than you used to be? Like, I'm still a morning person. I still, like, stay up super late or anything, but it's, I feel like over the last, like, 2 years or so, in particular, there's still times, you know, I'll get up right away and I'll feel, you know, wide awake, but I feel like nowadays, it takes me a good 5-10 minutes before I'm, like, actually can comprehend the things. Somebody tried to have a conversation with me, like, the first 5 minutes I'm awake, I probably wouldn't remember it. I'm like in my own space. I'm out of it. Oh, that snapped. I saved it until the AI backed me into the wall. What a save. Clint Boyer. Well, yeah, I just got down on the apron. That's all I did there. It takes so much concentration. I'd imagine everybody's going to stay out. Usually, if I cause an incident, I go to the back, but I'm almost curious how shot my tires are after that. We'll do this for a one-time only. Halfway out of gas. Everybody stayed out, so they're all trying to push it on 2 stops, it looks like. That big gap we had over Tony Stewart's gone. I just hope the tires are still underneath the car. XX Larry, thanks for tuning in. I didn't actually get into the wall. The AI kind of backed me into it once I came to a stop, but I didn't do it myself. It was like after basically the caution's out long enough and AI just takes control of your car and basically gets you right back on course. I don't know how I saved it. I was sliding down in the grass. I was turning right to go left at first. I'm going to snap back around. I was turning back to the left to keep from coming up the racetrack. That's what I was scared about. I didn't know how much closer Tony Stewart was. Good thing we had that big gap on him and there was nobody there. Although I did kind of keep it down anyway. I guess it wouldn't have mattered, but it would have been a lot more stressful if there was a lot of traffic there. Well, that's our second caution of the day. Try to go right back to business here. Act as if nothing happened. Woke yourself up snoring. Yeah, a lot of people do that. I don't snore, so I know I haven't done it. I remember seeing my grandpa used to do that all the time. He would snore obnoxiously loud. So whenever we would end up, like me and my sister, if we ever were at my grandparents' house, my grandma and grandpa slept in separate rooms. So I'd always basically bunk with my grandpa. And yeah, he would keep me up at night sometimes. Like it was loud. And being the race fans we were, Speed Channel was always on at night. So like, I'd wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to him snoring, and the F1 race would be on or something like that. I can remember that. Wake up, oh, Sebastian Vettel's leading. All right, try to get back to bed. I'm like half watching the F1 race while I'm like trying to get back to sleep. What else would be on? Like MotoGP would just randomly be on in the middle of the night. Speed Channel. Those are my earliest memories of watching Formula One, by the way. Because I never really went out of my way to watch a full race, but I can always remember like Formula One being on. Because it'd always be in the weekend too, when I would be over there, especially if it was like during the school year. Just waking up to my grandpa snoring. Seeing that there was F1 on. 3 or 4 in the morning, whatever time it was. All right, we'll alternate through the different camera angles here for the first time today. Yeah, I miss Speed Channel too. There were so many good shows on there. I was so young when it was on too, and I still had fun watching it. I'd have even more of a joy watching it now that I'm like older and I would actually understand a lot of stuff with the racing side of things. And like, I was too young to appreciate Dave Despain. I can remember my grandpa watching it he made it a priority that he was going to watch it every Sunday night after the NASCAR race. Go over to Speed Channel and see what Dave Despain has to say. Yeah, I definitely miss Speed Channel too. I remember when like Fox Sports 1 first came around and they were like, "Oh, don't worry." Like, they were basically trying to get you to like check it out, like give it a chance kind of thing. Like, "We're going to move all your shows over to our platform." Okay. Bunch of liars. Or they would stick it on FS2 in the middle of the night or something like that. Like, you want to watch? Like, I don't even know what was the. There were a lot of shows on there, but it's like, oh, you want to watch Barrett Jackson? Well, looks like you're gonna have to tune in at 4 a.m. Saturday morning. Like, I don't know. I was just trying to think of something random to be on Speed Channel. They had some cool game shows on there too. I can't remember what it was called, but there was this one. It was like they would be at this drag strip, and you'd have these 3 contestants that would basically try to guess. Like, some guy would come up there with like his sports car or his car that he souped up or that he works on, and he would run like a quarter-mile drag strip, and all the contestants that were competing against each other, they were competing for money, and there was like certain like prizes, I guess, per round from a financial standpoint that they'd have to try to guess the time. Whoever was the closest gets the point. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I can't think of what that was called. Yeah, trackside in the morning, that was always cool. NASCAR Smarts was a great one. I love NASCAR Smarts. I never see anybody talk about that. I always hear trackside mentioned, but I never hear about NASCAR Smarts. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Kenny Wallace and Kyle Petty. They bring on a guest. Rutledge Wood was on there too, I think. That was like my earliest memories of seeing Rutledge Wood was NASCAR Smarts. Because I think he was the host of the show. I don't know if that's where he got his start or not with the NASCAR side of things. Speed Channel, Formula One. Yeah, no, I definitely remember that. Like I said, those are like the earliest memories of me watching Formula One. It was my grandpa waking me up in the middle of the night snoring, and because he always slept with the TV on too, so like the TV was just always on in there. TV was always on, and it was always on Speed Channel. The random occasions it wasn't on Speed Channel would be like if I was watching like a Tigers game or something like that, then maybe it'd be on like Fox Detroit at the end of the night or something, but usually it was Speed Channel, because usually on the weekends anyway, they would play like earlier in the day a lot of the time. But yeah, that was Pastime. Yes, thank you. That was the name of the show. Yeah, Pastime. That is right. As soon as you mentioned it, I was like, yep, that is definitely it. That would be the show I was thinking of. Yeah, that was a good one. That and NASCAR Smarts, those were like the two game shows I always tried to make sure that I watched. If I ever break into the NASCAR sphere from a media side of things, I'm bringing back NASCAR Smarts for each and every single one of you. I will host that show. You're like, what is it going to take? I mean, Kyle Petty's still working with like NBC and stuff, so I don't see how it would be a problem trying to get him back on it too. NASCAR Victory Lane, yeah. Yeah, definitely would watch that. Yeah, Speed Channel was always on. Basically, as soon as the race was done from the airtime standpoint, it'd be right back on Speed Channel. Catch everything else. I can always remember my grandma complaining about like why it has to be on Speed Channel like all the time. Like, you just watched the race, you already know what happened. Why are you watching this show? Go to NASCAR Victory Lane after. You already watched the whole thing. You already know what happens. It's not the point. Now we don't even have Race Hub anymore. It's just sad. Like, there is nothing. Everything's on YouTube, which I will say, I mean, there definitely are great YouTubers out there for, you know, news outlet informations that you can watch, NASCAR oriented. But it sucks that it has to go to that. Like, I wish there were alternative avenues, because it would help. I mean, it would help the sport. It would get more people invested. There has to be some sort of a decline, you would think, with the like NASCAR's viewership when Speed Channel dropped off the face of the earth, essentially. Like, there has to be, I don't know what year that was off the top of my head, when Fox Sports 1 came around. And Kyle Busch might be pitting this time. Yep, here he comes. Busch into pit. And Clint Boyer will stay out on the racetrack. So that'll be 5 bonus points, leading our first lap of the day finally. No, I haven't watched NASCAR Inside the Playoffs. I just talked about, like, we need these TV shows back. I haven't watched a single episode of that. I just think collectively it'd be better for the audience is why I think it would be back. Like, I wasn't even necessarily watching Race Hub, you know, a lot. I can remember watching it a lot when it was on Speed Channel, though. But granted, again, I was younger, and yeah, I definitely miss Speed Channel. All the truck races were always on there. Back in the days when there was a lot of practice and qualifying for every series, that would all be on there. I mean, Friday rolls around and I'm just like, especially in the summer times, when I'm not in school, Fast Friday would roll around and I'd just be watching NASCAR from like 9 o'clock in the morning until, you know, whenever the last practice session was that day. 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock or whatever. Just like one series after another after another. I was just constantly watching. That's how I spent my Fridays during the summer. I can always remember, too, there would be, there were some people that lived, some of my friends that lived in the different town that my grandparents lived in, that whenever I was at my grandparents, they'd always be like, hey, is he home, whatever. We'd play basketball or wiffle ball in the one kid's backyard. And I can always remember, it's just like, it'd be like, oh, is he around or whatever. It's like, yeah, but the race is on. Like, if it was a Sunday, it's like, yeah, but he's watching the race. He's not going to want to come out. Or I'd be over there on a Saturday or something. I'll be like, I'll be over like in the morning or something, but I got to be back because the race starts at 1 o'clock. Jack Sprague, Ron Hornaday in the Truck Series. And Johnny Benson winning a truck title in those days, too. My favorite truck driver was Todd Bodine growing up. He was always my favorite. The Onion. So really trying to stretch this fuel window out as far as we can. The right side tires have definitely burned off the race car at that slide we had earlier. Really, the spin. I mean, it was a complete spin. But we did save it. Never hit anything. And now here we are. A lap ahead of the field. We're the last car to have to hit pit road. Trying to stretch this race to make it on 2 pit stops. So that's why we were running behind Kyle Busch that whole run, trying to just save gas. And it worked in the sense that we've gone further than everybody else. I'm going to try to make it to lap 86. I remember NASCAR Live. I remember all those shows. There was a bunch on there. They would even have some like World of Outlaw races on there from time to time because obviously my grandpa was always watching that too. I can remember watching the Knoxville Nationals live on Speed Channel. That, because that always rolled around on my birthday, like the weekend of my birthday every year. It still does. Alright, we'll pit. Before I run it out of gas. Clean pit road entry. No adjustments, 4 tires and fuel for the 2. Made it to lap 86. And the hope is that we can make this race a 1 more stop. I think we can. Gonna lose a lot of time to Kyle Busch, who pitted before us, and a slow stop on top of that. Wow. Problems with the right rear. Still doesn't even look like he put it on the car, does it? Is he gonna mold? Like how it just popped itself on there. I was gonna say it looked like it was still just hanging there. I was waiting for it to come off as they roll out of the pits. Wow, we are way behind Busch. That was a very slow stop. That was a big mistake on the rear tire changer's behalf. We're back to 5th. By the time we get up to speed, we're probably going to fall to 6th or 7th. Yeah, we're going to be back in 7th into turn 3. We are a long, long way from Kyle Busch. And he's still got clean air as he has not hit lap traffic yet. 11.3 seconds back. So we pitted about 10 laps, about 9 laps after Kyle Busch. So he had fresher tires for 9 laps, and he probably had a clean stop, and we didn't. Top 5 winners in the Truck Series. If you're talking all time, Busch number 1, Hornaday 2. Oh, man. Who are some dudes that were there for a really long time? Mike Skinner's definitely up there. Mike Skinner has to be in the top 5. Let me know if I'm right on that with each one. Obviously, I know Busch and Hornaday are 1, 2. That I know for a fact. I would imagine Mike Skinner's in the top 5. A lot of those guys that were there in those early years, though, too, I don't know how long they stuck around for. Like Skinner's case, he stuck around and then he came back and ran some more and won some more. I would like to think Jack Sprague's in the top 5. One guy still racing. Okay, so that's not counting Kyle Busch, though, right? Still racing in the Truck Series. Skinner's tied with the guy. I said Sprague already. Sprague in the top 5. I know Biffle wasn't there very long, so I don't want to say him. See, it's tough because it's not that many wins. Like, it's going to be in the 20s. Because the seasons are so much shorter. And the series hasn't been around that long. It's only been around since the mid-90s. It's not Crafton. No, I know he's in the mid to low teens, I think. Crafton is. Trying not to look at the chat just in case somebody answers it correctly. Yep, with Sprague. Okay. It's the last guy. I've got some names. Like, I want to say Todd Bodine, but something's telling me that ain't it. I really don't want to say Todd Bodine. This is tough. Travis Quaffle. Travis Quaffle is on that list. I'm hammering it. Let me know. Former champ. He was there for a while in the early years. You know what? Rick Crawford might be on there too. He was there for a while. Top 3, 4. I'm hammering Travis Quaffle. I'm glad I took the time to think about it and I didn't rush the answer. Man, we're still 10.2 seconds back. I would imagine when Busch gets into lap traffic, we'll start catching him at a faster rate. This pit crew can't afford to be that slow in the final stop. Like, it's going to take us almost the entire run just to get to Busch. 11.3 seconds off the lead. Like, you just can't have that. Oh, no. He's fifth. What? Not Quapple, though? Bodine's fifth. Okay, so that was, I mean, that was my debate there. That was my debate, was between Quapple and Bodine. I went with Quapple. I literally said it's not Bodine, too. Like, I did, for some reason, I felt like there was going to be a tricky one in there. The fourth guy still racing. See, now that's a trick question, too, because is it Johnny Sauter? Because he is technically still racing, but he's only part-time. So I'm going to go Johnny Sauter. And he was definitely around there for a long time. Went a year or two and Cup didn't work out for him. Same for the, Busch Series and right back to truck. That was a truck lifer, so I'm going with Johnny Sauter if you're saying he's still active. Because off the top of my head, I can't think of like any like active full-time guys that would be on there because Sauter 4, yep. There we go. I know my NASCAR. John, I'm kind of curious to know if you knew that offhand. Like the exact order and stuff, or if you had the list in front of you. Yeah, I mean, when you think Truck Series, honestly, like all those names right there, those are the greatest of all time. I know Christopher Bell's definitely top 10. Like, he won a lot of races down there. He's one of those things where if, like, he pulled a Kyle Busch and ran, like, 4 or 5 truck races every year, I could see Christopher Bell getting up into the top 5 for sure. We'll battle for position. Oh! Coming together is the 2 and the 17. Kenseth and Boyer. Some contact. Big Truck Series guy, yeah. Side draft Tony Stewart here. Well, a little contact there, too. Pass made for third. Wonder who's in second, then. One of the Roush guys. It's either Martin or Kenseth. Martin. Could have probably figured that. He's won 1 race this season on a 1.5 miles, and he tends to run really well on this style of racetrack this year. Well, the good news is we did lead laps by staying out of the pits longer than Kyle Busch. 8.8 seconds currently off the race lead for the number 2. Bella's 15. Yeah, he's up there. Where does that put him? He's definitely top 10 at 15, I would think. I feel like top 10 probably cuts off around like 14, 13, 12, I feel like. I could be wrong on that, but that's my guess. Nice clean pass in a tight confine on Mark Martin there. He really pinched us off, but stayed committed, stayed steady. Didn't lift any extra, made the pass. First corner, we had a chance to get to him. So up to second. Look at that lead for Kyle Busch. 8.4 seconds. He's on Kyle Larson mode right now. That's what he's on. You say Brett Muffin. Not wins, but place. Oh, 15th place. 10 wins. Oh, okay. Okay. So he had a... I mean, I guess he was probably only there for 2 years. It's a lot of wins for 2 seasons. Well, he's probably won like 1 or 2 since going Cup full time. But still. Maybe it is Kyle Larson. It is the 5 car. It is the Hendrick 5 car. It could be Kyle Larson driving that 5 in this race and not Kyle Busch. How old would Larson be in 2006? He'd probably still be a child, wouldn't he? I mean, he's not that much older than me. I think he's only like 5, 6, 7 years older than I am. I don't even think he's that much older than me. We're probably closer in age to what I think. What is he, 31? He's 6 years older than I am. Yeah, he was probably like 12. $14. Yeah, a little too young. Seven wins, not 10. Larson's 32. Okay, so he's a year older. His birthday must have been during the season then. So I think he was 31 at the start of the year. That would probably make sense then. I used to remember when a lot of drivers' birthdays were, like, maybe not like by the specific date, but just like randomly, like I would know like Jeff Gordon and Kurt Busch share the same birthday, August 4th. How I know that, I used to have a calendar that, it was a NASCAR calendar, but it would have all the active drivers at that time and their birth dates. I can't remember what year that calendar was exactly. Sometime when I was a kid I had it, but I can remember that, yeah, that was their birthday. Because as a kid I found it was cool, you know, that they shared the same birth date, but my guy Biffle born in December. I think Casey Kane is too. It's just like, I don't know. It's stuff I shouldn't know, but I do. Biffle's my favorite driver though, so I mean, I guess, you know, it's a little different there. I don't think it had all the drivers on there though. I think it only had like the big team drivers. Like, they weren't going to put, like, David Stremme, like, and when his birthday. I don't think he was on there. Buckshot Jones or something like that. Like, they weren't gonna throw that on there. They didn't have enough ink. Born this. Well, they're both West Coast people. But one's from Vegas and one's from Southern Cal. Something else I've always kind of found it very strange. Think about like the great Hendrick drivers. like Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson right now, they're all from California. I get California is a big state, but the fact that they all drive for Hendrick Motorsports too. Casey Kane was in April. All right, well, I was wrong on the Casey Kane one. I'm sorry. Come on, man. There was somebody else in December. Wasn't Casey Kane? I wonder. I gotta think back to who it might have been. You know, that's pretty crazy to think. That's when I know I'm like really gonna be feeling old, is like when Kyle Larson's kid, when Owen gets to be like 20 years old or something, or Brexton Busch is like 20 years old in the truck series. I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I remember when he was like 4 years old at the racetrack. Where'd the time go? That's probably how a lot of fans feel like with Chase Elliott, I would imagine. Those later years when he was with Bill, when he was in the 9 car at Evernham. Showing up in Victory Lane. Dale Jr. even. Put our fastest lap of the race down. Mid 35. Wishing your dad shared the same birthday. There you go. "28 next week. Happy early birthday." Laney's birthday's New Year's Eve. I didn't know that. The calendar wasn't, we're passing the grass, skip by this lap car here. Calendar wasn't, that new, so I didn't know it. Harvick and Boyer's kid too, yeah. Yeah, I can remember being, I was at Michigan the first time Keelan was in the car. Before it came like a tradition, and like every kid that's like at least 4 years old, their dad wins of the Cup Series, they take him for a victory lap. And he was like the first one to do that, from my recollection. I think it was the 2019 Michigan race, the 2019 August race. I don't think it was 2018 when I was there the first time. I think it might have been 19. I can also remember back in those days on the internet too, where people were complaining about it. Bunch of parents complaining about it, like, "Oh, what if something happens? He's not wearing a seatbelt." Like, the dude's a professional race car driver. I think I know. You would think that he would have the wherewithal to say, like, "Oh yeah, I trust myself to, do this and nothing bad happened." Oh my gosh! Another car upside down. There was somebody stopped in the middle of the track that got obliterated further back as well. Somebody was stopped. This car flips upside down. Our second flip in turn 4. And it was a lap car that happened to be running between me and Mark Martin in line behind us. And it looks like everybody's going to stay out because we are still outside the fuel window to make it to the end of the race. And this is the way that we catch up to Kyle Busch in the 5 car. As the green flag's back in the air at lap 128. The third caution of the day. Daughter's racing too. The lineage. If I ever end up having a kid, I'm definitely going to try to do my best to get them into racing. Just like I did when I was younger. But I'm also going to make sure I'm not going to be the one that's going to be like living vicariously through them. I'm not gonna be that person. They don't want to do it. But I'll at least open the opportunity up to do that. Back in the fuel saving mode, and right back where we were in that first fuel run, running in line behind Kyle Busch in the 5. And hoping to make this race on one more pit stop. Wife is from a racing family. That's pretty cool. There was... I didn't mention this because it kind of slipped by me. So last week, there's somebody... there's like a new worker that's working in a different department. She's... I don't know exactly how old she is. She looks like she's probably like in her 40s and 50s. I'd probably say she's probably in her 50s, especially knowing this. But she noticed I had a Ryan Blaney hat on, but 12 hat particularly. She asked me if it was Ryan Newman or if it was Ryan Blaney. Told her it was Ryan Blaney. I'm like, and I told her, you know, oh, I used to. Apparently, she said that she goes to the racetracks often. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm a Ryan Blaney fan because I used to grow up watching Dale Blaney race. And then she mentioned something about like, oh, yeah, I was going to lead into my next thing. She was like, I used to date Dale Blaney. So when she found out it was a Ryan Blaney hat, it was that. And then she started just like trashing on him randomly. I'm like, all right. Put me in an awkward situation there. I'm like, I'm sorry for your, misfortune, lady, but I didn't mean to, like, make it a bad thing that he was my favorite driver when I was a kid. I'm sorry. Sorry things didn't work out between the two of you. All right, 65 laps to go. Get down under 60 laps left. Should be able to make this race to the finish. We're getting really close to that number. That caution probably helped us save a few extra laps of gas also. Yeah, we're not even down to a quarter tank of fuel left. We're definitely going to make this race on one more stop. Busch is coming in right now. I'm not going to pit this early. Seems a little too early for my liking. If I get down to about 54, 55 laps left, I think that's going to be a safe spot. I'm not going to push as far as I can again, because I don't want to fall 11 seconds off the lead again. Well, granted, I had a slow pit stop too, but I probably would have fallen about 5, 6 seconds off the lead. And knowing that it's going to be the final run to the checker from that point, I don't want to have to hope for another caution to catch up again. That caution honestly saved me. We were still 5 to 6 seconds off the lead when the yellow flag came out less than 20 laps ago. I don't know if I would have gotten to him before the next stop. Ethan Chua, by the way, thanks for tuning in. I didn't notice you in the chat there. Earl Arnold Jr., same thing. FS2 replaced by Fuel TV. Or replaced? Hey, I gotta read that again. Replaced Fuel TV. Oh, I had no clue, honestly. Did not know that. I always remember Versus. Is Versus still a channel? They used to have IndyCar stuff on there. I think IndyCar races. All the time trials and stuff for the Indy 500 used to be on Versus, because I can remember watching that. That was really the only time I watched IndyCar on Versus, was usually during the month of May. But I know they definitely had some races on there. But they also had NHL games, because I can also remember, obviously, during the Wings dynasty, I'm a Detroit Red Wings guy, Detroit sports fan, that the Red Wings were always playing playoff games April, May on there. So I was watching Versus a lot, like in May, if the Wings were still in the playoffs, and then have Indy 500 qualifications going on and practice and all that stuff. So that was like a big sports channel for that stuff. I don't know what it was. It was probably affiliated with ESPN in some way, if I had to guess. Just because the Indy 500 was always on ABC for me growing up. And honestly, even before that, I think it was on NBC for a really long time, up until just a few years ago. Happened to Mark Martin's kid racing. I don't know about that. I don't know the story too much. I remember he got into racing and then dropped out of it. But I don't know the reasons why. Kind of the same thing with Kenseth's kid. Wasn't he racing, Ross? I think he ran some Marcus stuff and then just... I don't know if he decided he didn't want to do it anymore, or... We're going to go one more lap. And then we're going to pit. Got a 4-second lead. I'd like to not get trapped a lap down. Like, that's the big thing here. We've had 3 cautions in this race. I'd like to not have the risk of getting trapped a lap down. We'll be at 54 laps to go this time by. Obviously, we're well within our fuel window to make it to the end. We will see at the line. Still a 4-second lead. Obviously, Kyle Busch pitted really early. We're losing time to him the longer we stay out. Versus doesn't exist nowadays. When did that go out? Did that last longer than Speed Channel? Maybe it was done before Speed Channel. It could have been. I can definitely remember there being some racing on there. Like I said, it was primarily IndyCar, but... Right side tires on the yellow on the tire wear indicator. 52 to go this time by. Still a 5.5 second lead, 6 second. Second place just pitted. We're going to pit this time then. I don't know if that's the last of the lead lap cars to pit, but I'm just going to assume it is. I feel like we've stayed out long enough. We've already gone about 12 laps longer than Kyle Busch. Just more than that first run. Definitely need to have a clean stop. Try to get a little bit more coming into the pits. Gassing it up there right at the end. No adjustments, 4 tires and a full tank of gas. NBC Sports Network replaced Versus in 2012, so it was about the same time then. A little bit earlier than FS1, but... But that was obviously before IndyCar even went to NBC too, so... It's kind of weird that they bought them out. Oh, all right. And there goes Busch. Only cycled out 7th the last time. At least it was a clean stop. We're not going to be as far off the lead. And it's definitely going to be manageable in trying to drive back up here through the field. 50 laps to go this time by. As Boyer gets up to speed, he's on the inside of Crocker into turn 3 and he'll remain in 5th. Kyle Busch has dominated this race on the laps led side of things. Clint Boyer really trying to get after it. He's led twice just by staying out longer. Trying to get that points lead away from Tony Stewart. Stewart currently sits in 3rd, even after flipping earlier in the race. And that 16-point lead. 5 points per position, those top few positions. Say he finishes 4th and we go on to win the race, I think we will have the points lead. Considering he hasn't led. It's pretty much been Busch and Boyer, the only 2 drivers I think that have led this entire race, now that I think about it. I don't think anybody else has led a lap. Unless Biffle snuck that first lap lead in, but you guys in the chat were saying he didn't, so... I didn't even realize that until just now. It's only been the 5 and the 2. It's literally 2 guys and the rest of the field. Mostly Busch.
All right, interval between you and the leader is 4.5.
3.1 seconds off the lead. Why did he say 4.5? He said our interval was 4.5. I look up at the interval and it said 3.1. Is that like a way of him trying to get me to push even harder? I ain't trying to wreck the thing, man. I already spun out once trying to push a little too hard earlier in the race. Yeah, I wasn't even really trying to push that hard. It was just a factor of me barely clipping the apron. We do have about 12 lap pressure tires on him, which that will even out well before the end of this race and the end of the run. But right now, this is where we're going to be able to gain the most time. It's 2/10 quicker than him that last lap. As we close in on Mark Martin in the 6th. Actually, I think Tony Stewart cycled back in the 2nd. That is not him in front of Martin. 30.418 that last lap. Fastest of the day for Boyer. And looking for a pathway to get by the 6. Lowe off turn 2. Can't quite get on him. Nope. We did, actually. He gave us a lot of room getting into the corner that time. Way more than he did earlier when we were battling for second. All right. 1 down, 3 to go. And still got to get those 2 field passes in yet. Fuel not an issue. Ryan Berwick, thanks for tuning in. Wonder if this is Kenseth up here, because it looks like similar Pennzoil car. Yep. So Kenseth and Martin both up in the top 5. Clint Boyer and then all the Busch or Cup regulars. Boyer at this time, the soon-to-be Cup regular. He'll be in the Cup Series full-time next season. 30.414, fastest lap of the day again for Clint Boyer. Under 2 seconds between first and now fourth. Well, hopefully it's just a drill. And place isn't actually on fire. Be a weird time if there was an actual fire for you to be messaging in the chat. I'd say get to safety. Screw the stream. Squeezed by Kenseth. That's about how Mart was racing me earlier. Just enough room, though, to make that pass. Ran a 30.378 that last time by at the line. Again, fastest of the day for Clint Boyer. He's definitely saving the best for last. .40 laps to go. 1.3 seconds off the leader. Was 3.1. Looking low under Stewart for second. 30.339. Again, fastest of the day. And up to second. Yeah, I remember the fire drills. We always had tornado drills too. Fire drills were always better, though, because you got to go outside. Usually it was an optimal time to want to go outside, too. Weather would always be nice out. It's always like either the beginning or the end of the school year. Usually the beginning. September around here is still nice and cool, but not cold. A crisp 70 degrees. Tony Stewart, I will say, is a lot closer to Kyle Busch now than he was before, and you wonder if that 33 car's found something for the end of this race. Boyer hasn't really driven away from him yet at this point in the run. 34 laps to go. He's probably about a second off the lead. We're catching up to Busch. Get the first of 2 field passes out of the way. I have no clue where Harvick or Burton are running in this race. Burton started quite deep in the field. We'll swap to him first. I don't know why it went that way around the track. 22nd is where Jeff Burton runs. 1 lap down. Remember that long green flag run between the second and third cautions of the race. It was about 90 laps or so. I mean, it was a long time. Got through a full fuel run and then some, but it looks, with where Burton is at right now, that he is trying to put some distance between himself and Denny Hamlin. $600 on NASCAR 07. Soon. We got to get through Darlington first. Southern 500. I'm not sure when I'm going to do the next Cup race. Swap to Harvick. Oh, wow. Harvick. Oh, I was going to say he's behind Jeff Burton, but technically he's in front of him because Harvick's on the lead lap. Burton is not. Burton must be one of the first cars a lap down then. You know, with Harvick being behind him, I almost wonder if he got the free pass with the last caution and was behind the longest line of cars. That might be why he's behind the 21 car, if I had to guess. 18 seconds off the lead from Kyle Busch. Boy, we're definitely running a slower pace when we're not driving as them. 30 to go this time by. 1.6 seconds off the lead. I'm still obviously not worried about it. That's why I'm trying to get these out of the way now. Go up there, try to drive up to Kyle Busch again. Do the same thing one more time. Boy, they're trying to make an easier pass on Kevin Harvick than he had to the first time. Not Kevin Harvick, I meant Matt Kenseth. You knew what I meant. You knew who I was talking about. Up to third. I'll tell you what, Tony Stewart's creeping. He has not won a race this season despite the fact that he's led in points since about the 3rd or 4th race of the year. I'd have to go back and look, but it was really early in the year when he took the points lead. And I want to say it was after Atlanta, which would have been actually the 5th race because we ran Red Bull before that. Could have been going into Atlanta. Whatever the case, he's been in the points lead for a while. He's been Mr. Consistent, but just hasn't been able to break through and get that first win. And here he is running in 2nd place again, within a second of the lead. Hasn't led any laps yet today either. But he's in contention if things go his way. Cautions have kind of kept him in it. Had 3 of them so far, even though he caused the one. Maybe it knocked the handling out of the car, and then it took him 2 more pit stops to try to get quicker again. A lot of contact with Tony Stewart. That was a big mistake there. Overdrove the corner. Kenta gets through to second. And now we got another car blowing a motor on the back straightaway. I don't know who this is. I couldn't tell who that was. I think it might have been the 117 car. Stewart trying to get back underneath Boyer. Boyer pinches him off and holds on to third. Man, we're 3 seconds off the lead now. That was a big mistake. I don't know if we're going to have lap traffic before the end of this race or not. The pace that Kyle Busch is running at the front of the field is kind of hard to tell. Oh, that's not going to help either. Flipping the apron through 3 and 4, and now things are just start to crumble apart for Clint Boyer. Big slide down the track, another spot lost, more time lost as he sits in 4th. Third time I've clipped the apron today. Didn't completely spin like I did earlier, though. Pretty darn close. I think that was it, honestly. I don't think there was any chance we were going to be able to get to Busch after that slide. It was going to be tough after the contact with Stewart. Now we're back in the boat of having to hope for a caution to bring us back into this thing. Kyle Busch trying to outright just win his 2nd race of the season here today. Oh, Jimmy Johnson behind us just got loose off turn 4. He got up against the wall. We stay green. He didn't flip like we've seen 2 cars do already in that corner after getting loose. Perfect, still back in 19, 21 and a half seconds behind the race leader. He's also hoping we get a caution, so he's got another shot to try to get some more positions before the end of the race. Harvick under Denny Hamlin. That pass was for a spot. Here's Jimmy Johnson, who just got loose and up against the wall after Jeff Burke got around him. So Harvick not that far behind the 21 car. And Johnson is a position as well. Harvick to 17th. Only got 2 more spots on his own. Yeah, I mean, Clint Boyer's had a couple of mistakes here in the closing laps of this race. He'll be able to get some of these spots back, but he's definitely not going to have a chance to drive up to Kyle Busch in the 5 car. Busch is now 5.7 seconds ahead with 17 laps to go. Boyer going to do what he can. And Kenny Wallace in 5th. Like I said, at least we got to lead some laps. I'd like to at least beat Tony Stewart, who was up in 4th. Third, actually. Tony Stewart in third place. Big blocks by Kenny Wallace. Now he's holding this 2-car up a bit. Clip in the apron. That's too much. I was over-aggressive in trying to make that pass. Oh, man. I was hoping it would stick, but, like, he just didn't. Even when I was on there, he didn't give me room. Like, he didn't move up when I was already there to help me make the corner. It's like, all right, you're going to drive down there? You're going to have to keep it down there. I couldn't. Just mistake bitten here in the late going. Tell you what, man, my 1.5-mile track woes, it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable, the woes on 1.5-mile tracks. We were running 33s at one point in the run. I don't know if the tires are capable of me being able to put a lap time up like that again. That's deep into the run. A little over half a fuel run now. Oh, I got 33 there, 30.379. Looks like Kyle Busch is in lap traffic. That'll slow him down a bit. All right. Listen here, Kenny. We're getting past you. Hopefully. Boyer getting pinched by Kenny Wallace again on the front stretch. A little side drafting back and forth. This time the clean pass will be made. We had positioning on him well before getting into the corner, so we weren't going to get squeezed to the apron. Clean pass made for 5th. Boyer back inside the top 5. Next car up here is Mark Martin for 4th. Definitely got to get to him. Tony Stewart in 3rd is going to be a bit of a stretch. Still 5.2 seconds off the lead. About half a second gain over the last 3 or 4 laps. We're a little faster than him, but not enough. Ten to go. We could see another restart. I mean, you never know. We've had 3 cautions today, so. Now he can drive on the apron. Look at that. His left sides are below the white line. I do that and I spin out. It's kind of messed up. What does he have that I don't? I was hugging it though for 3 and 4. Dropped another 33. We're digging. Even with those slight mistakes, the over-aggressiveness hasn't stopped. I mean, it's definitely time to push. It's the pay window. And it is open. Little contact on that left rear corner panel. That's going to slow both cars up a little bit. Boyer trying to make sure he gets underneath him so he can make this pass into turns 1 and 2. And he's going to be able to. Gets by Mark Martin for 4th. We took the Joey Logano way in passing Mark Martin there. Maybe not the traditional way to pass a clean driver like Mark, but we know what we're trying to do here. We're trying to win a championship, and every point matters. It ain't 1 point per position either, too, so that spot was worth 5 points. Now that we're up in the top 5, if we can catch Tony Stewart, that'd be a 10-point swing from where we're at right now if he were to beat us by a spot. And we can potentially beat him. 6 laps to go. 4.1 seconds off the lead. I think we can get Tony. Haven't caught any lap cars in this run. The top 2 have, but Stewart hasn't yet, and obviously Boyer hasn't either. And there's a ton of lap traffic where Kyle Busch is at currently. Look at that gaggle of cars. I almost wonder if Kenseth's got a shot of running him down. And we're like 3 seconds off the lead where we are. I don't even see Kenseth anywhere. I don't think he's that next car in front of Stewart. I think he's in that pack with Kyle Busch. And there's a chance might see Matt Kenseth steal this win. Who hasn't led all day, but he's just been kind of slowly creeping up to the front of the field. Stewart's getting bigger here out of the windshield of Clint Boyer. There are so many cars up there, man. If we had 5 more laps than what we have, I'd say we have a chance, but 2.2 seconds off the lead, 3 to go. I was confident about catching Stewart. I'm starting to wonder if we're even going to get to him now. I don't think he's going to get to the big bulk of the lap traffic. He's caught Todd Kluver in the 06. He'll pass him through 3 and 4. Boyer's going to have to do that probably in 1 and 2. 2 laps left at the line. Can you imagine if there's a big crash off the final lap because there's no cautions in this game? That'd be our chance to try to win this thing. Big run for Boyer. Oh, really going for it. Clipped the apron. Actually didn't get loose that time. That was a first. Trying to get to Tony Stewart for 3rd. Knowing he is the points leader. I think Stewart's going to catch this pack of lap cars. I don't know where Matt Kenseth is in this. White flag. 1 lap to go. 1.9 seconds off the lead. Stewart's I'd probably say a half a second ahead of us. I don't think I'm going to get to him. I thought I was going to have a chance, and I guess not. Dang. Well, hold on a minute. Oh, I thought that lapper was going to get underneath him into the corner. I really hoped that was going to be the case. It was not. A race to the bottom. 4th for Clint Boyer tonight. Kyle Busch with the race win, and he barely held on. 1/10 of a second over Matt Kenseth is all the difference. He got close. That lap traffic made things interesting in front of us. I wish I could have watched that battle a little closer. That was tight. Oh, what? Tony Stewart led a lap. When? Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about it. That first caution that came out when we pitted under yellow, I wonder if Stewart got credited by leading if Busch had his pit box before the start-finish line. I'd have to go back and look at that. Because I definitely don't remember Stewart leading any laps. Started 2nd, apparently. I thought he started on the pole. That means Biffle started on the pole then. Yeah, I don't remember him leading. We definitely didn't have 18 lead changes. That ain't right. 3, we probably only had like 4 or 5. 3 cautions, 18 lead changes in quotations there. 153.01 mile per hour average race speed, 1 hour 57 minutes and 37 seconds total time of the race. Margin of victory, 1/10 of a second. Kyle Busch. 169 laps led. Matt Kenseth led for 2. Stewart led for 1. So Stewart actually gains 5 points on us then. I was expecting that he didn't lead a lap. and we were going to net even because he beat us by a position 5 points, but we had bonus points and he didn't, but we both have bonus points, so he's actually going to extend his points lead to 21 tonight. An insanely consistent season despite no wins in the first 13 races for Tony Stewart. Mark Martin finishes 5th, Kenny Walls 6th, Elliott Sadler 7th, Aaron Crocker 8th, M. Irvin 9th. Martin Truex Jr. rounds out our top 10, and apparently Dale Jr. led a lap somewhere in there too. I don't know where these guys are getting their bonus points from. I think NASCAR's just giving them out. Kevin Harvick, 18th, lead lap. Lap down, our teammate Jeff Burton, 22nd. 20 cars finished on the lead lap. And as far as DNFs go, we saw Casey Mears and J.J. Yaley blow an engine early. T. Marshall blew an engine. Bernie Lamar blew a motor, lap 69, nice. Lap 174, F. Taylor blew a motor. 5 engine failures total. Again, 3 cautions in this one. Tony Stewart flipped and still beat us. What the heck? He flipped and he still gains points on us. Well, still haven't led in points, just like Stewart hasn't won. What an anomaly of a season. And you got the guy who's won the most races sitting second in points, hasn't led all season in the standings. And then the guy who has led in the season standings for a large majority of the year still hasn't won a race. What is this? Dover tomorrow night, StonebridgeRacing.com 200. We'll do it again from the back to the front. Hopefully we can win this time. Shorter race, with it being a 1 mile track versus 1.5 miles. Same amount of laps, but instead of 300 miles, it's only going to be 200. So a bit of a quicker race tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoy. Appreciate it. That also means that we have less time to get to the front. I think Dover is going to be harder to pass than what it was here at Charlotte. Charlotte's probably the hardest 1.5 mile track to make passes on. It's just so tight in the corners. This track is going to get tight too. Hopefully we can stay out of trouble. We had some wild truck races here on our truck season, so I think we're going to have a good one tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everybody. And as always, enjoy the rest of your night.